Finally, we are in Trondheim, or Nidaros as it was called back in the days. Thank you so much everyone for joining us all the way from Selånger at the Baltic Sea, across 2 countries, over the mountains, all the way into Norway and the Atlantic coast here in Trondheim. As you know, the Pilgrim Trail is 580 kilometers and usually it takes about 30 days to walk the whole trail. We have been live broadcasting now for 6 weeks, starting in Selånger, and last week we were in Stiklestad. Tonight we are not live, as you know. This last time we taped a few days ago. But if you do have any questions and you cannot ask them directly on the web, I would suggest that you go into Facebook to a group called Hiking Along St. Olavsleden. Hiking Along St. Olavsleden. That's a perfect group because there are a lot of pilgrims there and they all ask questions and they give answers, and it's a really good group for finding old questions and the answers, but asking your own as well. So use that one, it's perfect. Tonight I will visit the Pilgrimsgården, the place where I will pick up my Olavsletter, the diploma for doing the whole trail. But before we go to the Pilgrimsgården, where we also hope to meet a pilgrim, we don't know yet if we will find one. Before we go there, we will actually go into this big cathedral, the Cathedral of Nidaros, or as I would say, Nidarosdomen. And inside we will meet Ingrid. Come! Hej Ingrid!
Välkommen hit. Ja. Du kan väl släppa in kameran?
Ja, vi släpper in kameran. Okay. Ja, det gör du också. Ingrid, we are now inside the Cathedral of Nidaros. Can you just explain to us this beautiful and big building?
So firstly, it is really very big. This is the largest medieval cathedral in Scandinavia. I know that in Uppsala it's longer and there are some that are taller, but this is quite wide. So if we measure in square meters, this is the biggest one. It's the northernmost Gothic cathedral in the world, and it's the national shrine of Norway. So it's like if something important in Christianity happens in Norway, it happens here. So it's a really sort of special building.
When was it built?
They start building a stone building here in 1070. It's called the Christ Church. And then gradually that sort of starts growing. And especially it starts growing when it becomes the seat of the Archbishop of Norway, because Scandinavia was just one church province to begin with. And then Norway and Iceland and Greenland and the Faroe Islands and all these islands out in the sea are separated out as their own province, and that is all controlled from here. So this becomes then a really important seat of power in the Catholic Church, and of course then the church really starts expanding. So most of the church that we see today is from that time. They build the transepts, they build all the parts around where the old church stood, and that's why we can't see the old church anymore. It was completely replaced. And then finally this part where we're standing, we're currently in the nave. It takes them 170 years to build just the pieces that we still see today. And then, of course, it burns several times. It burnt 8 years after what we count as its completion. It burns 100 years after that. It burns 100 years after that again. The way that it happens is that it's like in Notre Dame in Paris, right? It's the roof. And so the roof collapses, it tears the ceiling with it, and then when the vaults that hold the building together on top, when they are gone, it loses stability. And so after this third fire, that stability is never given back, and this half of the church keeps on crumbling. So what we see here is actually not just a result of 170 years of building in the Middle Ages, it's also several rounds of repairing in the Middle Ages, and then 100 years of restoration work of building back all that had crumbled.
So now I'm a little bit afraid. Will it fall on us?
No, it's very stable, and we're looking very sort of closely after it. Okay. There is a problem that there are stones falling from the outside, which is why there's like these kind of little chains all the way around it, so people won't get like a finger from a saint or something on their head, because that would probably be very painful.
But today, is this church used as just a normal church, or how is it used today?
Well, it's used as a normal church, but most normal churches, I think, aren't used this much. Because there is services here every Sunday, of course, but there's regularly more than just one service, because the Anglican community uses this. There is a German-speaking congregation that uses this sometimes. There's a Sami-speaking congregation. And then, of course, comes everything that the Norwegian-speaking congregation in the Norwegian Lutheran Church does here. And they have like a little service every Saturday with organ music. There's like small prayers every day of the week. So there's a lot going on there. And of course, in the summer, there's also these evening services for the pilgrims.
And when it comes to pilgrims, because we are here now walking all the way from Selonger to Trondheim, what part does Olav have in this church?
So, I mean, a lot of people think that this is built over Olav's grave, and that's wrong.
Oh, is it?
The church is Olav's grave, right? So the building is his grave. He was never under it, he was in it. That is the function of this building, to be the place where people came to visit St. Olav. We're going to go later to the place in the front, which is where his body was. People could walk around there and come quite close to it. And then, of course, this isn't an Olav's church, this is a Christ church. And we kept on using it as just the parish church later. So it isn't sort of mainly concerned with Olav today. The church on the other side of the street, the Catholic church, that, I think, is an Olav's church. But Olav is perhaps still here. And of course, it's really important to understand why we have this gigantic church in a city which in itself isn't that big.
Because I was always thinking that Olav was buried here, but now you say that maybe he is, maybe he isn't. And I know now that there is a big story about his burying. Can you make it fast? Not too fast, but how is it?
So he was he was killed at Stiklestad, right? And then his body is taken down here by the farmer at Stiklestad. He's tried to find someone who can, take over responsibility, but he doesn't find anyone, so he ends up having to bury him himself. He's buried south of town, and then the grave is opened a year later. Olav is moved to the churchyard of the Church of St. Clement, and then a year later is dug up again, put on the altar in the Church of St. Clement. And then a couple of decades after that, they build the stone church here. He's moved there. The church keeps growing around him, and he stays here for several hundred years. But then with this third fire in 1531, the archbishop takes the shrine out of the church to protect it from the king, who 1 year later burns the archbishop's palace down right next door, and he moves Olav to a fortress out in the fjord, Steinvikholm. And then he stays there for almost, I think, more than a decade. In the middle of that decade, the Danes come along and strip all the silver off the shrine, so there's just a simple wooden coffin left, and he's left all alone out there on this fortress island. And then the Swedes come and nick him, because they invade and they want to bring him back to Sweden, but then they decide he's too much to carry, so they bury him next to a small church at a farm called Fløan. And then some Norwegian sort of top guys decide that this is the eternal king of Norway, he can't be buried in this farm chapel. And then they come and pick him up and dig him out again and put him somewhere here in the church, giving him a really nice kingly burial somewhere in the floor. But then, of course, people start coming to visit this saint again that they're not supposed to believe in, and so they have to cover it up. So they cover over the place in the floor where the grave was, and they do it so well that we haven't found it. We don't know where it is. And at the moment, we have dug a basement under practically the entire church as a part of making it stable for restoration. So most of these places he can't be, just by process of elimination. But there's one place left where we haven't dug, and that's around the high altar in the front. So he could still be there, and I mean, that is the most logical place to bury a king, isn't it?
Let's just believe that's the case then.
There is a cavity. There are 2 cavities under the floor there. We don't know what they are. Maybe he's in one of them.
Perfect. Good story, though. I'm thinking, Olav, as I understand, he wasn't that popular when he left Norway, was he?
No, so the thing that Olav had done, one thing is he'd sort of forcibly Christianized the parts of the country that weren't already Christian. He'd ousted the previous ruler, who was sort of on good footing with people. And then, of course, he was a very brutal guy. It was a difficult guy. He has this nickname, Olav.Digre, which could mean he was like a huge guy. Could also just mean he took up a lot of space. So he gets a lot of personal conflicts. And I mean, the fact that the 3 people who kill him at Stiklestad all have like real serious personal beefs with him and have reasons to want to kill him themselves. It says something about how many people in the end were after him. And then when the Danish king rocks up, it's just like, finally we're rid of Olav, we can have this Danish king who's not even going to be in the country. Wonderful. So he wasn't very popular when he left, and I mean he also didn't have any military force left. He wasted it all on trying to attack Denmark.
But how did he go from a non-popular Viking to become a saint that everyone in Norway knows today?
So there's the religious story and there's the political story. And the religious story is, of course, that you have these stories of miracles connected to the body after he has died. And people they took Christianity quite seriously. We have like stories from Norway about the time and the time after where we see that they were really serious about this. And so this idea that you have someone who's performing miracles after death, that's fantastic. It's very useful even. And so for that reason, of course, you want to take him back in. And then there's the political reason, which is that after Olav is dead, they get a new ruler. It's King Knut, the Danish king's son, and this small son's mother. And these people are extremely unpopular. And so people are reminded that it was actually not that bad when we had Olav. It was a lot better than this. We'd actually much prefer to have him back. We sort of regret killing him. And so that is also an important factor in it.
I see. And pilgrimage is a big thing now to Trondheim and Nidaros. Has it been that forever?
It sort of has, at least since his grave becomes this important place. It's like not just the place where his body was here by the river, but the place where his body ended up being, and the place where it had been overnight when the farmer was looking for somewhere to store it. All of these places, like they got their own churches, and so people came to them, and you don't need to go very far to be a pilgrim. You can come from somewhere else in the town, you can come from the area around, but people came from really far away as well. We have a description from one of the bishops in Bremen about how people get to Nidaros, and it's written before the time where it was really possible to go over land. It was really difficult to walk because you had to walk over the mountains, right? So he just writes, you can go over land, but why would you? You can go by boat. It's much easier and safer.
Well, there is one place here in the Nidaros Dome in the cathedral that I would like to see. It's a well, and it's close also to the altar. So maybe we should go and have a look at that.
Mm-hmm. Let's do that.
Yeah, great. Is the well? What's the story about that?
So the well was made when they built the Christ Church, and I mean when they built the Christ Church, you can't build the church necessarily in the place where the grave has been. Where the grave was probably a place where it was easy to dig, easy to hide a body in the middle of the night, probably not on the highest point of the terrain in many kilometers around. But that's the good place to build a church. You don't want to build a church somewhere where the ground is really weak because it's easy to dig. So probably this isn't where the grave was, but the well contains water from a source that sprung from the grave when they opened it, because all these holy sources, right, connected with Olav, the ultimate one, of course, is the one that comes out of his grave when they open it. And if you have a grave where you've had a saint for a year and the water comes out of it, that super, super holy water, so of course they wanted it inside the church. And the fact that they've dug 12 meters down to the water of this well, I think they went for the right water. So even though the church isn't necessarily in the place where the grave was, I think it's likely that it is the water from that spring which came out, which we have in this well. And when the pilgrims came here, I mean, we are at the end sort of this round around the high altar today, but around where Olav's body was in the Middle Ages. And so once you'd been here, you'd sought out Olav, you told him the things that you were here for, and then you got some of this water with you out again. You could bring it back home with you, for instance.
So this is a place to pick up the holy water after a long pilgrimage.
Yes.
So we talked about where the grave is, and as we know, we don't know where it is, but it might be by the altar, and it's right over here. So let's go and see if we can at least look at the altar for now.
Mm-hmm.
And you also described to me behind or below the altar there is this picture, the painting,
Yes.
that shows that Olav actually was pictured as Christ, kind of.
Yeah, so Olav is really important for the actual Christianization of the Nordic countries, not because like he gets it into the laws, he gets it into the systems, but because people start believing in it, because Olav is a very good metaphor for Christ. You can use several aspects of Olav's life and explain to people, well, this is the deal with Jesus, it's like with Olav. And so you have this very typical thing of medieval art down here, where Olav is pictured as Jesus in several scenes, and some of them people today will recognize. So here in the middle, for instance, is Olav, but on the sides you have like the bull with wings and the eagle and the human with wings and the lion with wings. These are the evangelist symbols, and they are only ever on the side of Christ, but here suddenly they're on the side of Olav. So he's put in a very Christ-like position in this image.
Yeah.
And so down here, he's going through Sweden, he's paying some money to a farmer who is then told, you have to pray for the souls of the people we are going to kill in the battle, because they're going to be fighting us. We are on a mission from God, so we're going to be fine, never mind praying for us. But you see, he's riding in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Because he's riding back to Norway. He should be riding in sort of opposite to the reading direction. This is the way we code things when we read from left to right, as we also did in the Middle Ages. Yeah. He's riding the wrong way, but it's because that is the way Jesus is pictured in medieval art when he rides into Jerusalem. And you can even see this speech banner that is in front of his horse almost forms like a gate. So it becomes even more of a riding into Jerusalem picture, which is where Jesus goes to die, right? Just like Olav goes back to Norway, essentially to die. He's being warned in the top image that, he's going to die. He sees this ladder up to heaven where Christ is on top there. And then it's the exact same picture, Olav lying down on the grime, same posture, same placement of the shield almost, here down in the bottom corner where he's being killed at Stiklestad. And he's being killed with the wrong weapons. And it's not because the artist didn't know which weapons killed Olav. It's an axe to the knee, a spear to the gut, an axe to the neck. But especially look at the spear. That's not how you use a spear. The spear here comes from up in the corner. It has the same angle as the ladder in the other picture. And that's not how you use a spear. It's how you use a lance. And the lance is the weapon that Jesus was killed with, not the weapon that Olav was killed with. So again, this is just an image, not really telling the story of Olav, but telling the story of how Olav is similar to Christ.
Wow. It's a great story, and thank you so much. Finally, I would just like to end this by looking on top of the altar, because this is something that pilgrims today have put here. Is that correct?
That is right. These have come here the past week, I think. I haven't seen these before. And so people who come here as pilgrims, sometimes they carry like little stones or other things that they carry as a symbol of something that they want to, think about or process while they walk. And then you leave it behind when you come here.
And I think that will be it for this visit in the cathedral. Thank you so much, Ingrid, for having us here and for this great history telling. We will continue to the Nidaros Pilgrim Gård, where we will meet Vigdis. And Vigdis will let us know what's happening inside, and we will get our stamp, and we will get our Olav letter, and hopefully, maybe we will find a pilgrim to talk to as well. Vigdis, we are outside the Nidaros Pilgrims Gård. If we go inside, what would we find inside?
First you find the reception, and if you need a place to sleep, you can book it here. And the next you find the reception of pilgrims, where volunteers are sitting and greeting the pilgrims welcome, and some other things. And then we have a cafe with a lot of people, both pilgrims and people from Trondheim coming.
Yes, and you said there are volunteers working inside the Pilgrim Center. It's open from 1 until 6, I believe, and you are one of the volunteers. Tell me what you do as a volunteer here.
Oh yes, first I greet them very welcome, because hospitality is one of our keywords, the main keyword here in Trondheim. We have learned from the Swedish people. They have some keywords too. But then I speak to them and listen to them what they have experienced in the pilgrimage, and we do some statistics, and we give them the Olav letter if they have deserved it. Yeah. But most of all, we try to listen to them. We say we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Listen to their stories. Yeah.
And the stories, of course, are very personal, but you have met so many pilgrims now. What do you bring with yourself from these meetings? What do they talk about when they come here?
Oh, it's so many different things, but I think they are, yeah, very touched.
Yeah.
Some pilgrims, they have been walking alone, miles and miles, and when they come here, they are very touched. Yeah, and it's yeah, it touches me too to listen to their stories.
Are they tired? Are they happy they are like reaching the goal?
Yes, they are tired.
Yeah.
Yes, of course, they are tired. But as a pilgrim last week from Slovakia said, I should be. I'm tired, but I should be. He had walked from Oslo, 643 kilometers, you know. So, yeah, that's a natural thing. Yeah.
During the summer, because at least St. Olavsleden is only open during the summer, when is the busiest time here at the Pilgrim Center?
No doubt, Olsak time, when we have the feast Olavsfest. Yeah.
Which is in the end of July, the 29th of July, right?
Yes, 28th and 29th. Yeah.
And if you want to walk the trail and not have so many other people, when would you say you would walk? When is it less busy?
Yes, in June, but it differs which trail you want to walk, because in June maybe not at the mountains in Dovre, it could be snow, so then I would walk in the autumn. Yeah.
And this is the trail of St. Olavsleden that we're talking about. But when you come here, you will meet pilgrims from so many different places, because there are more pilgrims trails that goes to Trondheim.
Yes, yes. We have a lot of them. Should I name them?
A few of them, one from Oslo.
Gudbrandsdalsleden and Østerdalsleden, coming from Sweden too. And Romboleden started in Köping in Sweden, and St. Olavsleden in Selanger. Yeah.
And during a day, when you are a volunteer inside here, how many pilgrims would you greet a normal day?
It depends on what time it is. Now, maybe 10 a day. At Olsak time, maybe 100. Wow. Yeah, because then we have a lot of groups coming too. Yeah.
And when they come here, they bring their pilgrim passport, which they have collected stamps. What do we know about the passport as of today?
Most pilgrims have passports, and they have collected stamps, because they know that they need that to get the Olav letter, because they should walk the last 100 kilometers, or if they cycle, 200 kilometers. But some tells us that they couldn't buy a passport, or they couldn't find a stamp. If they sleep in a tent, maybe they, you know.
So they need to prove it some other way. What do you do to make them prove that they did actually walk the trail?
Because I walked a lot myself, I know the trail, quite well. So maybe I talk to them and make them tell me something about their trail, or I can ask them, do you have photographs? So then I can see, yeah.
And when they choose the way from Stiklestad, you can go the inner road or the outer road. Which one would you prefer?
No doubt, that's the outer way. You see, in 2020, they relighted the light burning until 2030, and we brought it, walked with it from Stiklestad to Tautra, 4 days, and I just fell in love with that part of it. Yeah, it's so nice and very interesting with the cultural heritage, you know, Falsta and the monasteries, the ruins or the new ones, and the beautiful path at Frosta, looking at the vegetables growing there, smelling onion for yeah. Yes, it's very, very special.
I understand. And now you mentioned 2030,
Yeah.
and that's a very, very important year here
Yeah.
in Norway. What's
Yeah.
happening?
We are celebrating 1,000 years since Saint Olav died. Yeah.
And there will be big festivities, I guess.
Yes. You know, big festivities, but it started in 2020. And now every year we have big festivities. This year in Moster, and yesterday they celebrated in Frosta because of the Magnus Lagabøte. Yeah, yeah.
Well, it's exciting.
Mhm.
Now I really would like to go inside because I'm bringing the passport of the live broadcasting, and I will see if I manage to get the Olav letter, the diploma for doing the trail. Can we
Yeah.
go inside?
Yes, we can.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh, then we're on our way into the Pilgrim Center.
Yeah.
So this is where you're working as a
Yes.
volunteer?
Yes. Here. Yeah.
Okay, so what do we do? Where do I sit as a pilgrim? I sit.
Please sit down here,
Thank you.
and then first we greet you welcome,
Thank you.
and we can give you some
Oh, some
Yeah.
chocolate. Thank you so
Or-
much.
water if you want.
I see. Not today, but
Huh?
thank you so much.
Okay.
And Vigdis, we already know, but inside now we also have another guest, which is.
Hi, my name is Stephen, and I work here as a pilgrims priest.
And you greet pilgrims every now and then as well, do you?
Yes, I do. Sometimes here when I'm visiting the pilgrim center, or sometimes in the cathedral or outside the cathedral.
I see.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I
And
come now.
every night we can see. Every night we have a mass, pilgrim mass, in the cathedral, and yeah.
I overheard you speaking to a pilgrim, and he will come tonight to your mass at 6 o'clock.
And all the same, we volunteers, we are very glad to have the pilgrim priest coming, visiting us. Yeah, so the cooperation with the pilgrim priest is very good for us.
Good. I would like a stamp, please, from Nidaros Pilgrims.
And you see, we have 3 here.
Oh,
Oh.
I take them all.
You take them all, as most pilgrims do.
Oh, they do?
Yes, we ask them, do you want 1 or 3? Yeah, here. This is the volunteer organization. This is the Nidaros Pilgrim Center, and this is the cathedral. We have to have it the right way. And I write here, now the pilgrimage is completed at Nidaros, the date the 25th of June 2024, and my name, I confirm it. And then another stamp here with the cathedral. And now we check, do you have all the stamps so you deserve the Olav letter? I think so.
Yeah. Thank you so much. In real life, I wouldn't deserve it because I actually used the car coming through. But in this movie, it's okay.
Yeah, okay. And then I write with my finest pen my
I think you should write live broadcast
live broadcast.
because I did not do it already. So then I need to do it for real. Then I can have my name here.
Yeah, okay. And the date here
Yes.
and my name again. And we have already put the stamps in here. And now I say congratulations, and maybe I say some words about the letter, what's written here. And this is from the cathedral, and this is nature and real flowers from Norway.
Wow.
Yeah.
So for me, who did not walk the whole trail now, I can almost feel a little bit happy and sad at the same time. I guess it's a really strong feeling for the pilgrims who come here and get their letter.
Yes, really.
Yeah.
But if you haven't walked the 100 kilometers, we have another one, a pilgrim diploma. You can get this one, and this is really nice too. It's from the cathedral, you know, and on the back here some information about the trails.
So now you can walk just a short piece and then still get a small diploma.
Usually I say, if you feel you're a pilgrim in your heart, you deserve it.
That's really nice.
And after that, you see we have a map here.
Yes, let's go and have a look at the map,
Yes.
because that's a very special one, I think.
And then we say, could you put a pin on the place where you live? And, you know, I prefer the yellow one.
Yeah.
Grown-up people, they become like children. I want the white one, I want the blue one, but I want the yellow one.
Yes,
No?
the yellow one.
Yeah, and I live in Trondheim. And you see here, a lot of people, as usual, come from the Netherlands,
Yes.
Germany, but you know, here from New Zealand, from Australia, from US, yeah. And one Norwegian man, he had to use the world map because he lives in Svalbard. And you know, you can't have it here. So, at last we have a lot of pins here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's really nice, and this is new for this year, but you have had a map every year.
Yes, yes. We had a map with the trails and yeah. So then, when the season is over, we take out the pins and use it the next year too. Yeah.
Well, Vigdis, thank you so much for this time with us here, and thank you for visiting the Pilgrimsgården. And we will for sure be back, and hopefully we will find a pilgrim this evening as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I am so happy because I found a pilgrim, Jörgen from Germany.
Yeah, that's right. North of Germany.
North of Germany.
Yeah.
From which city?
From a small village near Bremen.
And you arrived today in Trondheim.
Yeah.
And I understand, because when I was planning this, I was thinking, okay, I will speak about hiking the trail from Selonger, but you did a really, really big journey, not just hiking from Selonger.
Yeah, I did the trail with my bike. And because of my age, of course, I have a little bit of electric support. So I started in Bremen and went through the eastern parts of Germany alongside the Baltic Sea. and entered Poland and went on to Gdansk. And there I took the ferry to Nynäshamn near Stockholm. Stayed in Stockholm for 2 days. It was a beautiful city. I really loved it. And went up Uppsala. That was my first pilgrim point. The Uppsala Domkirchen with Saint Eric. I learned a lot about him there, and Saint Birgitta, I think, as well. And then I went on to Sundsvall and started the classic Olavsleden along Östersund, Åre, and so on.
And now, how many days did it take for you for
today is the 33rd day.
From home?
From home, yes. So you normally you can do in between 40 to 50 kilometers to make it a pilgrimage. Otherwise, it should be a bicycle race. And I don't like racing. No.
How did you sleep? In a tent or in accommodations?
In accommodations. I have a tent with me, but only in case of emergency. Yeah. So when there's no accommodation available or something like that.
So along the St. Olavsleden, how was it? How was the experience from that part?
Let's say it's different. There are long passages that you ride on tarmac, so on open streets. Yeah. So that's a bit, let's say, boring. But otherwise, there are beautiful stages. For instance, from Karlstugan to Suhl and onwards to Vuko. It feels great to cross the mountains over there and see the birch trees, and the heaven comes down to earth because it is connected at that point of the earth of your country.
When you were biking this trail, did you meet many other pilgrims, or were you
no? That's the saying. If you do a pilgrimage here in the north of Sweden and north of Norway, you do it for yourself. Yeah. So you find yourself. When you go the Camino, for instance, in Spain, you will find other people. That's the saying. It's for communication, and that way is for silence.
And what about finding yourself? Did you during this trip?
I know myself right now quite well, but it's always good to have time, and that's the most important thing for me, for my personal journey, is to say thank you. Just thank you. I had a lucky life. I have daughters, I have a wife, they are all healthy, I live in a good house. I had ever enough money to do my living, so
I know that many people say thank you every evening in kind of a thank you book. Have you always done that as well?
No,
say thank you?
No. I go on a pilgrimage and concentrate it there, and then it's done for 2 or 3 years, like that.
So this sounds like this is not the first pilgrimage you do.
No. I already did the trail from Oslo to Trondheim. So now I've got my second Olav brief.
Yes.
I'm very proud about that. And I tried it from Sundsvall in 2019, but I was in really bad mood, and I could not manage it. I could not get rid of it. I thought, okay, this was a happy trail, and if you do it again, you will be happy as before. But that does not work. Yeah. You have to start every time. You have to start new. And that was a bad time. I don't know why. So I changed and ended it up in Östersund.
It was strong of you to make that decision, I think, and just do it another time.
Yes, but I got a sign.
Yeah.
My mobile phone broke at that time. So it was from one moment to another. It was dark. And so I said, okay, you could not repair it. The data is gone. I had no phone numbers, no maps. Everything was on the mobile phone. So I said, okay, I go home. I finish.
I know that in the last days you went from Stiklestad and you chose the outer route. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's correct.
How was that experience?
Yes, I was very, very, very lucky. that I had the chance when I asked in closer in the monastery of Tautra, where I don't know how to express it, the Cistercians and
I don't know either, but there is a monastery on the way.
There's a monastery, Maria Kloster, or Maria, and they gave me the chance to stay there for 3 days, and that really was a very touching experience. I've never seen a church like that. So beautiful, and to see the nuns doing their prayers 7 times a day, 24 hours, 7 days, 365 days a year, and that's their job, and they do it with a glimpse in their eyes. They really shine. They don't look sad or bored or something like that. They live in some kind of ways. They live a dream.
That sounds beautiful.
Yes,
and you as a man were welcome as well.
Yes. I behaved, I hope, very cautious, but because you're not used to the rules. Even when you're on service, they stand up and sit down, and you say, at first it was a bit disturbing, but you get used to it very fast, and then you can take part.
So what would you say you bring with you mostly from this pilgrimage?
If you love and you get love back, you live on both sides of the sun. So that's a good thing to feel.
And I think that's a perfect ending of this whole live broadcast that we have had from Sundsvall, Selånger, all the way to Trondheim. If you love, you get love back, right?
Yeah. That's it.
So thank you all the viewers who have followed us, and we definitely hope that this has inspired one or two of you to do this trail by walking, by biking, or in another way. Because we definitely welcome you both to Sweden and to Norway. Thank you.